Have you ever found yourself, really wrestling with that big question? What does it actually mean to live well?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty fundamental, isn't it? Almost everyone thinks about it at some point.
Right. And the answers often feel so scattered. You get a bit of philosophy here, a practical tip there, maybe some strategy advice from like a business book.
Exactly. They all seem valuable, sure, but they often just float around, disconnected. Makes it hard to actually put them together into something, coherent for your own life.
Well, that's what we're digging into today. We're not just looking at those isolated bits of wisdom. We're diving into something that tries to bring it all together, a kind of unified whole.
Precisely. This deep dive, we're calling it the architecture of meaningful living. And we've pulled from this really quite remarkable collection of insights.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just random thoughts, but stuff that's been curated to show something crucial. Living well isn't really about mastering just one skill or, applying one principle here and there. It seems to be about understanding and building an integrated system.
Okay, an integrated system. And the range of thinkers you mentioned we're drawing on, it's pretty wide.
Oh, absolutely. That's what makes it so compelling, I think. We're looking at the deep philosophical stuff from someone like Leo Tolstoy.
Okay, Tolstoy.
Then you've got the really sharp, practical, almost brain-hacking insights from Jim Cunney.
Mm-hmm.
The strategic genius of Seth Godin.
Always interesting.
And even this sort of robust, action-oriented vision of Theodore Roosevelt. So it's this rich mix of ideas.
Wow. Okay, so a real tapestry, like you said.
Yeah. And our mission here really is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from all these different viewpoints. But more than that, we want to show you, the listener, how they seem to fit together.
Right, how they connect.
How they connect, how they build on each other to form this comprehensive framework, something adaptable for your life.
We're looking for those aha moments, right? Where the theory suddenly clicks into practice.
Exactly. Helping you navigate, all the complexities of modern life with a bit more intention, maybe more clarity, more understanding. It's not just about knowing stuff, it's about seeing the connections.
Okay, so if we're building this architecture, where do we start? What's the foundation?
Well, the source material consistently points towards a really profound philosophical starting point. Love. Love as the organizing principle.
Love. Okay. That sounds big and maybe a little abstract.
It can sound that way, but the starting point here is this powerful directive from Tolstoy. He urged people to, and I'm quoting loosely here, live so that it is possible to create the kingdom of love on earth. Live a life based on love.
Kingdom of love on earth. Wow. Yeah, that definitely sounds idealistic, maybe even a bit sentimental for some people. What did Tolstoy really mean by that? Using love as an organizing principle.
Yeah, it's easy to dismiss it as just sentimentality, but it's presented as something much deeper, more structural.
Structural, how so?
Tolstoy wasn't just talking about a warm, fuzzy feeling. He saw love as the actual framework for how we should engage with the world. How we interact, make decisions, set goals.
Okay.
It's about deliberately moving beyond just, pure self-interest. What's just good for me, and shifting towards this broader vision of human flourishing where your actions actually contribute to the well-being of others, of the whole.
So it's like a compass,
Yeah.
always pointing you towards connection and contribution.
That's a great way to put it. A compass guiding even your small daily choices.
That's a powerful idea. Not just a feeling, but a way of structuring your whole approach to life.
Yeah.
If you really did that, if you oriented your life around that kind of active structuring love,
Yeah.
how does that change things, like your daily commute or your big career goals? It's like seeing everything through a different lens, isn't it?
It totally is a transformative lens. And what's really cool is how this big philosophical idea from Tolstoy finds this immediate practical application in something Jim Quick observed.
Okay, quick. What does he say?
His insight is simple but profound. What you appreciate, appreciates.
What you appreciate, appreciates. Okay, unpack that. Because appreciation often feels passive, right? Like, oh, I feel grateful. But you're saying this connects to Tolstoy's active love.
Exactly. Quick's point, especially in this context, elevates appreciation from a passive feeling to an active force. It becomes a mechanism.
A mechanism. How does that work? How does appreciating something literally increase its value? That sounds, almost magical.
It does, but it's not magic. It seems rooted in how our brains work and how systems respond. When you actively appreciate something, you're not just sitting back. You're engaging with it. You're directing your attention, your energy, your positive focus towards it.
Okay.
And that creates this positive feedback loop. Psychologically, what you focus on genuinely expands in your perception. Focus on the bad stuff, you see more bad stuff. Focus on the good or what's working.
You find more good.
You find more good. And the sources give great examples. Think about relationships. When you actively appreciate someone, your partner, family, friends, by really seeing them, valuing them, expressing gratitude, those relationships literally get stronger, deeper, more resilient. You're feeding them with positive attention, not taking them for granted.
Okay, that makes sense for relationships.
Yeah.
But it extends to opportunities too. How does that work?
Yeah, that's fascinating. The idea is, if you actively appreciate the opportunities that come your way, even the little ones, you're not just passively noticing them. You're more likely to see their full potential, to actually seize them. And by doing that, you kind of signal to the universe, or just to the system around you, that you're receptive. And more opportunities tend to follow.
Like attracts like, in a way.
Sort of, yeah. And it even works with challenges, which is maybe the most surprising part.
Appreciating challenges. That sounds tough.
It's not about loving the pain, obviously. It's about appreciating the lessons they bring, the growth they force on you, the resilience they build. When you shift your mindset to appreciate those aspects.
They stop being just roadblocks.
Exactly. They transform from things that stop you into sources of growth, valuable feedback. So yeah, your mindset, your active engagement, it really does seem to impact your reality.
Yeah.
Practically, not just emotionally.
Okay, this is huge, but how do we actually do it? How do we put this love-based approach, this active appreciation, into our daily interactions, especially communication, because that's where so much happens?
Right. And Jim Cook gives us a really practical tool for this. It's called the ER framework, EAR.
ER. Okay, what does that stand for?
Empathy, anticipate, and review.
Empathy, anticipate, review. Okay, let's break that down. Start with E for empathy.
So Quick's advice here is, don't worry about being interesting. Worry about being interested. Seek first to understand, then be understood.
Wow. Okay. In a world that's all about, broadcasting yourself, building your brand, that feels really countercultural.
It really does. It's about choosing humility and connection. That's the love in action part. Empathy here is a deliberate choice. You're choosing to prioritize the other person's experience over your own need to talk or get validated or even just plan what you're going to say next.
So how do you actually cultivate that? What does worrying about being interested look like in practice?
Well, it starts with active listening, obviously, really tuning in, eye contact, quieting that voice in your head that's rehearsing your reply. But it's deeper. It's asking clarifying questions. Tell me more about that feeling, or what was that experience like for you? Maybe mirroring their emotion a bit, showing you get it. The impact is huge.
How so?
When you genuinely try to understand, when you signal that you're present and valuing their perspective, you build this bridge of trust almost instantly. It signals respect. It makes the connection deeper than just surface level chat.
Okay, so E is empathy, then A is for anticipate. How does that deepen the practice?
Anticipate takes it a step further. Quick suggests asking yourself strategic questions while you listen. Questions like, where are they going with this thought? Or what's the underlying meaning here? Or how does this connect to what I know? Or how could I apply this?
So you're not just passively receiving words. You're actively trying to piece together the bigger picture.
Exactly. You're trying to grasp the intent, the unstated needs maybe, the relevance. It transforms a casual conversation into something more meaningful.
Can you give an example?
Sure. In a work meeting, maybe someone's outlining a problem. Anticipating might mean thinking, okay, are they looking for a quick fix or a fundamental change here? And maybe asking that. In a personal chat, if someone sounds frustrated, anticipating might lead you to ask, it sounds like something specific is really getting to you. Is that right? It shows you're engaged on a deeper level. You're trying to see it from their angle.
That makes sense. It's like proactive understanding. Okay, and then R is for review.
Right. Reflect and review. Basically, summarize what the other person said in your own words.
This sounds simple, but you're saying it's powerful. People often skip this, right?
Hugely powerful, and yes, often skipped. When you take a moment to say, okay, so if I heard you right, you're saying X, and the main issue for you is Y. You're doing several things.
What are those?
One, you're proving you actually listened, that their words landed and were processed. Two, you're clarifying any potential misunderstandings right away, no assumptions. And three, most importantly, you're telling them their thoughts were valuable, worth repeating, worth confirming. That builds respect and connection incredibly fast. They feel heard.
Wow. Okay, so ear empathy, anticipate, review. It's not just about being polite. It's a whole system for building better, deeper relationships by actively valuing the other person.
Exactly. And the kicker is, when you do that, it inevitably comes back to enrich your own life, too.
Which leads us perfectly from the philosophical foundation, love, appreciation, into the next layer, the strategic framework. How do we actually operate in the world with this foundation?
And that's where Seth Godin's concept comes in, his idea of serious games. It provides that strategic bridge between intention and action.
Okay, Seth Godin. Life is a series of serious games. That sounds potentially a bit flippant. Is he trivializing life?
No, not at all. That's the key misunderstanding to avoid. He's not saying life is trivial like a board game you play for fun. He's using the game metaphor to highlight the systemic nature of almost everything we do.
Systemic nature.
Meaning that life operates with rules, players, objectives, feedback loops, just like a game. We are constantly interacting within systems that respond to our actions. His examples are so good.
Like what?
Like getting your insulin dosage right if you have diabetes. That's a serious game. You take an action, insulin, the system, your body responds, blood sugar changes. You get feedback, you adjust your next action. It's constant interaction with the system.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Or trying to get a complex piece of legislation passed. That's a huge multiplayer game with rules, strategies, competition, unexpected events.
Right, or even finding a job.
Absolutely. Finding a job is a game. There's competition for limited spots. You need to signal your skills, navigate the rules of applications and interviews. In all these cases, you make a move, the system or other players react, and you have to respond. It's ongoing.
And he talks about the game mechanics too, right? Competition, outcomes, even random chance playing a role.
Exactly. Competition for attention, resources, slots. There are definite outcomes. You get the job or you don't. Your blood sugar stabilizes or it doesn't. And yeah, frustratingly, there are random elements you can't control. This whole view shifts you from feeling like just a pawn to being an active player.
So the revolutionary part is shifting focus. How?
Instead of obsessing over controlling every single outcome, which is usually impossible and super stressful, the focus shifts to understanding the dynamics of the system you're in, the rules of the game, how it tends to respond.
That takes the pressure off a bit, doesn't it? If you don't get the job, it's not just about you failing. It's about how you played that particular game in that particular system at that time.
Precisely. It reframes setbacks. They become less about personal inadequacy and more about, okay, what did I learn about the system? What strategy didn't work? What could I try differently next time? You move from victim to strategist.
He used the body example too. Your body is a system. Right. And managing diabetes means working with the system because it's not automatically optimized for your health. You have to play the game, balance the inputs and outputs.
Right. And that applies everywhere. Health, finances, career, relationships. They're all systems with their own logic, rules, constraints. Managing money is a game with rules like interest rates and taxes. Building a career involves the system of the job market, skill demand, networking. You're always playing in a system.
Which leads to a big question for anyone listening. What systems are you operating in right now? Your work system, health, family dynamics, and how well do you actually understand the rules and how they respond? Because that understanding is where your power lies.
Exactly. That's your leverage. And the beauty here, Godin points out, is it removes that crushing need for perfection.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. He says, no one is a perfect game player and no one wins every time. That's such a relief in a world demanding constant perfection.
So it's not about giving up, but about being smarter.
Yes. It means being strategic, adaptive, resilient. Expect actions to cause reactions. Expect competition. Expect some randomness. It means failure isn't the end. It's just a data point in an ongoing game. Learn from it. Adjust. Play again.
Okay, playing the game, understanding systems. Let's see this in action. You mentioned Ryan Holiday's Daily Dad story about John Adams. How does that fit?
It's a fantastic illustration of applying this serious games thinking to parenting, which is one of the most complex systems there is.
So John Adams, the future president, what was the story?
His father, who was a farmer, really wanted John to go to college, get educated, but young John, apparently very bright, but totally unmotivated, hated school, skipped class, seemed headed for, well, not much. A classic parenting nightmare.
Been there or seen it. So what did the father do? Use systems thinking.
Exactly. Holiday calls it sophisticated systems thinking. Instead of just punishment or lectures, the father created an experience for John. He essentially let John try out the game he thought he wanted.
Which was?
Farming. He took John out to the salt marshes to cut thatch. Grueling, back-breaking, tedious work. It wasn't punishment as such. It was direct education in the realities of that system.
Let him experience the consequences of choosing that path.
Precisely. Let him play the game. John came back exhausted and apparently said, "Okay, Dad, I want to be a scholar now." He had seen the alternative system firsthand and made an informed choice.
Huh. That's brilliant. But he struggled again later, right?
He did. Back in school, still disliked the teacher, wasn't progressing. And again, the father used systems thinking. He didn't just assume John was lazy. He wondered, is the problem the system? Is it this school, this teacher?
Instead of blaming the kids solely.
Right. So he changed the system. He moved John to a different private school with a different teacher, Joseph Marsh.
And the result?
Dramatic. Absolutely dramatic. Under Marsh, John apparently turned around completely, became focused, studious, Harvard-bound in less than a year.
Wow. That's incredible. It really shows the power of the environment, the system.
It really does. And this ties into that quote from Immanuel Kant in the source material.
Which one?
About bringing up children as caretakers of the future and improving their education improves the world. Finding the right lane, the right system for someone to thrive in isn't just about them. It has wider ripple effects.
So Holliday's point, based on this, is that a key job for parents is putting kids in environments where they can thrive. Finding the right system for them.
Exactly. But, and this is crucial, this principle isn't just about parenting. It's about us too. As adults.
Finding our own lanes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to apply that same systemic thinking to our own lives. Be willing to experiment. Try different environments, different approaches, different systems. A new job, a new city, a new group, a new routine to find where we thrive.
So if you're failing or struggling in one area, it might not be a personal failing.
It might just mean you're in the wrong system for you. Maybe you need a different game, different rules, a different lane that plays to your strengths.
That is incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
To think, maybe I don't need to just try harder. Maybe I need to change the system I'm in. What stands out to you about that idea?
For me, it's that shift from self-blame to strategic analysis. It's empowering. And this systematic approach, it doesn't just apply to big life stuff like careers or where you live. It applies right down to personal habits and discipline.
Which brings us to section 4.
Yeah.
The disciplinary structure.
Exactly. And a prime example here is the rule of 2 for alcohol consumption. It's a masterclass in applying systems thinking to a personal habit.
Okay, the rule of 2. This sounds specific, and it gets around the willpower problem.
That's the idea. Instead of just relying on willpower, which we know is finite and unreliable for many people, it uses what behavioral economists call choice architecture. You design the environment and the choices to make the good behavior easier and the less desired one harder without totally forbidding it.
Like putting fruit at eye level in the cafeteria.
Exactly like that. Making the healthy choice the path of least resistance. So let's look at the rule of 2 for alcohol. Rule 1 starts simple. Only have 2 drinks or less on any given day. Clear limit.
Okay, straightforward.
But then it adds this crucial pause mechanism. Whenever you feel like having a drink first, drink a glass of water.
Ah, the water trick.
Right. If the urge goes away, then great. If you still feel like having a drink, go ahead. Then drink another water. If you're still wanting another drink after that, go ahead. But that's the limit.
That water creates a natural pause, doesn't it?
Oh.
It forces a conscious moment instead of just automatic reaching for a drink.
Exactly. It interrupts the impulse, gives you a second to think, hydrates you. The craving might even pass.
Yeah.
And Rule 1 also adds environmental controls. No storing alcohol at home. Don't drink alone. Limit drinking to social situations.
Choice architecture again. Making it physically harder to drink impulsively or habitually.
Precisely. Then you have the timing rules. Rule 2. No drinks less than 2 hours before bedtime.
To protect sleep quality makes sense.
Rule 3. Never drink more than 2 days a week. And Rule 4. Never drink 2 days in a row.
Those are about breaking patterns, right? Preventing it from becoming a daily thing.
Exactly. They build in breaks to stop habit formation. It keeps it occasional, not routine. And finally, Rule 5 adds a quality layer. No 2-bit booze, no cheap shit.
Huh. Okay. So make it count if you do drink.
Along with the social situations only and not alone rules, it frames drinking as a deliberate, higher quality social experience, not a cheap private escape or a mindless habit.
So the whole system together.
Yeah.
It structures your choices to support moderation in consciousness without feeling totally restrictive.
That's the genius of it. It makes the healthier pattern easier, the less healthy one harder by designing the decision-making environment. You still have freedom, but the system guides you.
This really makes you think, where else could you apply this? A rule of 2 for, I don't know, screen time or spending.
Absolutely. For screen time, Maybe only 2 social media apps on your phone, or only checking notifications twice a day. For diet, maybe only 2 desserts a week, or always having 2 servings of vegetables before anything else at dinner.
For spending, maybe a 2-day waiting period before any online purchase over $50.
Exactly. You design the system for your own specific challenge. Make the good choice easier, or at least more deliberate.
Okay, so we got the foundation of love, the strategy of games, the discipline of systems. What about the physical side? How does the body fit in? Section 5.
Right, physical integration. And the source brings in Tommy Kono, the legendary weightlifter.
Okay, what was his insight?
He said something like, power lies in the hips and the lats. The hips are the core. Now that sounds like pure fitness advice.
Yes, specific to lifting weights.
But the connection is broader. Kono wasn't just talking about muscles in isolation. He meant true power comes from integration, how the core connects and coordinates everything.
Ah, I see the parallel.
Exactly. Just like physical power needs that integrated core, personal effectiveness, real power in your life comes from integrating all these pieces. The philosophy, the strategy, the discipline, the relationships. You can't just focus on one bit and expect the whole system to work well.
You can't just work on your mindset and ignore your habits or your connections. It's all linked. The whole architecture needs to be sound.
Right. And when it is integrated, when these layers are aligned and working together, what happens then? Katharine Hepburn had this wonderful, simple line, just being is fun.
Just being is fun. Wow.
That's like the ultimate outcome, isn't it? It suggests that when you're properly integrated philosophy, strategy, discipline, relationships, all humming along, life itself becomes enjoyable, not a constant struggle.
It's not about chasing external goals for happiness, but about an internal state of alignment that makes existing itself fun. A state of flow, maybe.
That's a great way to think about it. Flow, presence, ease. It emerges when the system is working well.
But this whole focus on self-development, building your system, isn't there a danger of it becoming selfish? The sources mention this paradox, right? It's not selfish, it's serving the self. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a common concern, but the resolution is crucial. Authentic self-development necessarily serves others.
How so?
Think about it. You can't pour from an empty cup. When you work on yourself, systematically build your character, manage your emotions, hone your skills, get your habits right, you become more capable, more resilient, creative, present, reliable.
So you have more to offer.
Exactly. You become a better partner, parent, colleague, citizen. Taking care of your own system makes you more able to contribute meaningfully. It's not selfish. It's equipping yourself to serve better.
That connects right back to Tolstoy's kingdom of love idea. You need to have something within you to give outwardly.
Precisely. You can't love others well if you haven't learned to care for yourself. Personal flourishing enables collective flourishing.
And Theodore Roosevelt made that link explicit too, didn't he?
He did. He talked about a healthy state, a healthy society existing only when the individuals within it lead clean, vigorous, healthy lives. When they're trained not to shirk difficulties but to overcome them, to wrest triumph from toil and risk.
So individual strength builds collective strength. They're not opposed, they're connected. Our personal growth contributes to the bigger picture.
It's all part of that integrated architecture. Individual well-being and collective flourishing go hand in hand.
Okay, so as we navigate life with this integrated approach, the sources bring up 2 bits of advice that seem, well, almost contradictory. Section 6, right?
Yeah, this is interesting. On one hand, you hear everything in moderation. On the other, you hear, know the rules before you break them.
Right. Moderation sounds like playing it safe, sticking to the middle. Knowing rules to break them sounds rebellious, maybe. How do those fit together?
It's a great question. They seem opposite, but actually they both serve the same goal. Conscious, intentional living. They're tools to help you avoid living on autopilot.
Okay, how? Let's start with everything in moderation.
It's not really about mediocrity. It's about sustainability. Think about the rule of 2 again. That was moderation in action, finding a sustainable way to engage with alcohol that enhances well-being, not detracts from it.
So moderation in work prevents burnout. Moderation in spending ensures stability. It's about balance for the long haul.
Exactly. Finding that optimal level where you can enjoy something or engage in an activity without it depleting you or controlling you. It requires conscious awareness of your limits and needs.
Okay, so moderation is conscious sustainability. What about know the rules before you break them?
That points to strategic rebellion or maybe innovation. It means if you want to challenge a system, change it, or even just operate outside its norms effectively, you first need to understand it deeply. Its logic, its weaknesses, its potential responses.
It's not just smashing things randomly, it's informed action.
Right. Like the master artist who learns all the classical techniques, the rules before they can break them in a truly innovative way. Or the jazz musician mastering scales before improvising brilliantly. Breaking rules without understanding them is often just ineffective chaos.
But understanding the rules lets you choose which ones to bend or break, and how for a better outcome.
Precisely. It's intentional, effective disruption or adaptation, not just mindless defiance.
And Wordsworth's warning fits in here too. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers.
Beautifully. Because the real danger isn't necessarily moderation or rule breaking itself. The danger is unconsciousness. Mindlessly going through the motions, getting and spending our time, energy, attention on things that don't align with our deeper values.
So both moderation and strategic rule breaking demand that consciousness. They keep us awake and intentional, preventing us from wasting our potential.
That's the idea. They keep us aligned. Which leads to the big question for you listening. Where might you be laying waste your powers right now through unconscious patterns? Where could more intentional moderation or a deeper understanding of the rules serve you better?
It's a call to wake up, really. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together now. Section 7. Building your personal system, the integrated architecture.
Yeah, the real magic here isn't just one single insight. It's how all these different ideas from Tolstoy, Quick, Godin, Roosevelt, and others click together, how they combine to form this comprehensive approach.
It really is like an architecture, isn't it? Layers building on each other.
Exactly. You can visualize it.
Okay, lay it out.
At the very bottom, the foundation. That philosophical commitment to love, to appreciation, backed up by practical skills for connection, like the ER framework. That's your bedrock.
Solid ground then.
On top of that, you build the strategic framework. Understanding life as these serious games via Godin, seeing the systems, knowing how to navigate them. That's the main structure, the beams and walls.
Okay, got the walls up. What's inside?
Inside, you install the disciplinary practices. The systems like the rule of two for managing habits, for making conscious choices sustainable. That's the internal plumbing, the wiring, making it functional day to day.
Right, habits and choices.
And finally, you integrate it all with embodied wisdom. That sense of core strength Kano talked about, that feeling Katharine Hepburn described where just being is fun. It's when all the layers work together smoothly, feel natural, feel aligned. That's the living space, the flow.
Wow. Foundation, strategy, discipline, embodiment. It's a complete picture.
Yeah.
And the beauty is, it's adaptable.
Totally adaptable. The specific practices might change. Your rule of two might be different from someone else's. The games you play change over time. But the underlying principles, the architectural blueprint, remains the same.
So whether you're parenting, managing a habit, building relationships, you're using the same core ideas about systems, consciousness, love.
Exactly. It's not rigid. It's a flexible toolkit for your unique life journey.
Which brings us right back to the beginning and also to the end, that final insight. There is no triumph without toil. Without toil, there can be no triumph. That sounds a bit harsh again, maybe.
It can, but it's not about glorifying suffering. It's acknowledging that anything meaningful, mastering a skill, building something lasting, growing as a person, requires effort. Sustained, systematic effort.
But within this framework, toil isn't just mindless grinding.
No. When you see life through this lens, as serious games played with love, supported by discipline, guided by wisdom, then toil becomes something different. It becomes the conscious, focused application of your powers towards things that matter.
It's how you actively participate in building that life, in creating that kingdom of love. It's a purposeful effort.
Exactly. It's the mechanism for turning intention into reality. And the triumph isn't just personal gain.
Right. It connects back to Roosevelt.
Yeah. The character you build through that intentional toil, the resilience, the understanding, the capability that contributes to others, to the collective flourishing. Overcoming difficulties makes you and potentially society stronger.
So wow, it really does all weave together. Living well isn't about finding one magic bullet, but about building this integrated architecture. Philosophy, strategy, discipline, connection, service, all working together.
Understanding the systems, playing the games skillfully, but always grounded in love and purpose. Learning, adapting, growing.
Making the whole journey, hopefully, more meaningful. And maybe even, as Hepburn said, finding the fun in just being. So the final thought for you, listening. What does it truly mean for you to be a skillful player in the serious games of your life, holding on to the love that gives them meaning, and maybe, just maybe, finding more joy in the simple act of being? How could applying even one piece of this architecture shift things for you, starting today?